Alrighty, well, let's get this show on the road right now, and let's kick this off. So, for those who don't know me, I'm going to do a quick introduction to myself, and then I'll pass it over to Jeff so he can introduce you guys to who he is. My name is John Pike. I go on the pro wrestling side of things as Johnny Cass, as well as the convention scene. I've been making a name for myself all over the Midwest, and now I am here on the West Coast. And I have to say, it's been an amazing experience this whole weekend, meeting new people, making connections, hearing people's stories. Everyone has a different story to tell, which makes them unique and special. And that's one of the things I love to talk with Jeff about. So enough about me. This is about him. So go ahead with your introduction.
Good afternoon, everyone. ご利用いただきましてありがとうございます。こんなに集まってくれて本当感謝してます。またこれからもよろしくお願いします。Hi, I'm Jeff Libengood. I lived in Japan for 38 years and just gave you a little introduction saying thank you to all of you for coming. I'm really thankful and appreciative to it. Whether it's 5 people or 500, to me it doesn't matter because I like to talk from the heart and I appreciate the people who do give the effort to come. So what I want to do is share with you what I've done. I'm sure a lot of you have an interest in Guile and Street Fighter 2, but also share a little bit more with you. And then also because I've traveled to 22 countries and have lived 38 years in Japan, I've done a lot of exhibitions, public appearances, had my own television corner, radio corner, published books, many appearances throughout, guest posing, major bodybuilding championships that I've won. Those are all just part of the career path that I've taken. But deep at heart, I'm a country boy from Pennsylvania, have a love for God, love for my Savior, Jesus Christ, love for people, and I believe that the strongest strengths in life are always kindness, humility, and love. The worst that you can have is pride and arrogance and thinking that you're better than someone else. So for me, maybe you're sitting there looking, you've watched my commercial or other people have seen different things that I've done. That's good and that's wonderful. But at the same time, I look at each of you thinking, and we'll ask you one question, and one of you, please raise your hand and answer if you want. Take a bicycle rim and all the spokes in it. Which spoke is the most important? Anybody have any idea? Exactly. The answer would be yes. They're all equally important. Take one of those little spokes out, and the dynamics of that whole wheel start to be disrupted. And where that spoke is removed from is where that rim will start to weaken. And I'm sitting here with Mike, who is like a genius, astrophysics and engineer design. So I'm sure that he can back me up on that one. If not, please do it anyway. Thanks, Mike. All right. But yes, I grew up in Pennsylvania. My next birthday, I'll turn 60 years old. Went to the Air Force when I was 18, and from there spent my boot camp time and tech school in Texas and Illinois, and then went over to Japan right away. Japan was actually my second choice. I spent 5 years over there in the military. I won the All-World Air Force Bodybuilding Show, and that was in Honolulu, Hawaii, at the middleweight division, the best poser, and then won the All Armed Forces Pacific Bodybuilding Show. And I thought, well, okay, this is good. And I had made rank equivalent to 0.001% worldwide as enlisted personnel, and became the non-commissioned officer in charge of the Honor Guard. Had fun doing that, but then came another choice, and even though all the big brass above wanted me to stay, I thought, well, it's time for me to move on to something I want to try. And I stepped out on the limb. I separated from the Air Force, started my own personal training business in Japan way back in 1989 when it was non-existent. And from there, I took a path where it was rough, and I pull no punches about it. I've written articles because I used to publish articles in magazines and newspapers. It was rough, and I figured, well, the fruit grows out in the limb, and I've got to go out in that limb to find it and get that fruit. But I'll tell you what, out in that limb, that wind has shaken and scared the tarnation out of me. But it's where you either rise to the challenge or you succumb and stay huddled at the base of the tree. So in Japan, it was about learning a new language. It was about learning a new culture, new customs, the way people do things. And I figured, well, if I can't communicate, I'm dead in the water. So I started to learn the language. And then I thought, well, if I don't have an income, I can't eat. So I went out and started doing what I could do to start. And that's the way, I try to share with everybody. Every journey begins with the first step. And most dreams are never accomplished. Most dreams are never realized because of one simple thing. And that's because people don't take actions. They think, I can't. Or they look at a roadblock. Or they think, well, I'm this and people won't accept me for that. All of that stuff I found out is hogwash. It does not matter. What's in the heart is you. Let that come out. Take the courage to take that first step, and that first step becomes the second, which becomes the third. And when I speak to people, and I've spoken to groups of over 1,000 college students who are soccer players, hundreds all over different events, I always share with them, it doesn't matter if you don't realize what you don't want to do or do want to do at this point in life, regardless of age. What matters is that you move. What matters is that you take action. What matters is that you try. Because you never, ever in life will fail at anything until you quit trying. Keep going at it. Remember Edison? You've heard the story about him. He kept trying, couldn't invent the right formula for the light bulb. And his friend said, listen, you're a failure. And he goes, listen, I can tell you 10,000 ways it does not work. And he kept going and look around. So that effort, that continual to keep on keeping on when the times are rough, is what will create your success. And always remember, success is never a destination. It's always a journey. So embrace each day that you have. Embrace each day as it comes along, each person that you meet. And the most valuable thing that you ever give somebody in your life is your time, because it's a very finite thing that we have. Share that part of you. And that's what I try to do at the convention here. Everybody has come over. Just give them time, appreciate them for who they are, the time that they gave me, and let them see that I care. So fast forward, I worked for a company that many of you may know in the sports industry called Gold's Gym. This company handled their sportswear in Japan. I did that for 10 months, and I said, well, the fruit grows out in the limb. I want to go get it. So that's when I started my own personal training business. From there, my physique was changing, and I kept training. I guess I developed an okay physique and went into a modeling company. But what most people don't know, and I'll share with you guys today because you guys have shown confidence in me to come and listen. I started after that in Japan with only $6. I slept on the streets for about a week, and I had no place to live for about a half a year. People see the success that someone has, and they think, oh, wow, it's all unicorns, rainbows, and picket fences. But take a businessman like Mike or a cancer survivor like my manager, John. People don't see behind the scenes or below the surface of what goes on. So I had $6, and I'm like, wow, take a train to a place that stay at a person's house or get a cup of iced coffee. I didn't have the ability to do both. So I chose, hopefully the right one, that's to go stay at a place overnight. And I would walk around, hey, can I stay here tonight? And with that, inside, you have a zeal that you're either going to run away or you're going to stand up. So I went to the magazine store, or convenience store, 7-Eleven actually, and saw all the different fitness and health magazines I wanted to be in. So I want to be in this one and this one and this one. Wrote them all down. Went to my friend who lived in an apartment, had a telephone. Hey, may I use your telephone, please? I got on there. I called each one, and I said, hello, Jeff Des. My broken, simple Japanese. Henshicho onegaishimasu. May I please speak to the editor? He gets on, and I said, hi, I'm Jeff. I'm a trainer from America, and I like your magazine. I want to meet you. And this was in Japanese. And I'm sure they just looked at the phone and wondered who this screwball was. But all right, come on down. So I went down there. And remember, I had $6. And I'm sitting there across from the editor and a couple other, they're big executives. And I said, I'd like to be in your magazine. I think I can help you. And they discuss, and they said, well, we don't have any money, but we can offer you $1,800 only. I'm like, woohoo! But don't show it. Like in Japanese, never show you just keep that poker face. So I thought, okay, like Donald Trump, the art of the deal, right? All right, I'll accept your offer this time on the condition that we can work together in the future. And they're probably thinking like, oh, yeah, right, okay. So that was how it all started. And then I just went to magazine after magazine and kept building, and that's how everything grew from there. And going on through, I finished that, and the last 7 years in Japan, I was the only American in the history of professional baseball there to be the director of strength and conditioning for a pro baseball team. So none of this applies to Guile, as most people think, but actually it is all about it if you think about it. Success is a process and a journey. Your thinking is also what makes your success or your failure. As you think, so shall you be, the Bible says. And so I just try to look at things positively. How can I help others? How can I help them to succeed in what they do? Because for me, I love giving more than I love getting. So I came back from Japan. This December will make 3 years. And I wanted to learn how to drive the big semis. So I went to school for that. It was a 2-week school. And after I completed the school, we had to do driving practice to further our skills in it. So driving across the U.S. back and forth every week. And that's how I met John at Hirschbach, and I heard them talking about Capcom. It's like, wow, I've not heard that in 4 decades. And we started talking, and he's like, wow, I won the Midwest Gaming Classic. So we started talking, and that's how I'm sitting here today. So I gave you a little bit of a long-winded introduction, but that's basically it in a 30-second nutshell. So thank you.
But it was truly an amazing experience because when, if you guys, I'm sure you guys know what Resident Evil is, right? So when I heard he was in Japan for 38 years, that's when I thought to myself, the Resident Evil original 96 actors were just found, and they were in the same area, Roppongi. So I have to ask him if them guys ever ran into each other from back in the day. So I did, and of course he didn't recognize any of the names, but that's when he was like, Capcom. I haven't heard that name in so long. And then I was like, wait, what do you mean? And he's like, yeah, I play Guile for a game called Street Fighter. And he's like, look right here, here's a picture that only I have and Capcom have, nobody else has. And swiping through, and I'm just like looking at it in disbelief, like not even believing it.
Now to interrupt, I think I'm the only one who had it because nobody else wanted them. So let's be clear.
But it's truly amazing. Sometimes what life throws at you, or what life has in store for your journey. But I think we should move on with the Capcom stuff right now because the stories are just mind blowing. So with that being said. So how did you get discovered by Capcom?
Well, in Japan, what they have are modeling agencies, and modeling agencies will go out to get people, or you're introduced to a modeling agency. And I did a lot of television over there, and I was a personal trainer in a very exclusive club. So one of the people there was the owner of one of these agencies. So I talked to him, and I had a very unique look, obviously, as a foreigner, blonde hair at the time, a physique that stood out. And he said, yeah, come on board. So he wasn't doing anything, and I was kind of getting a little bit anxious. So I talked to him, and then he said, well, maybe you should work in Dave Spector's office. And Dave was a very successful foreigner over there, fluent Japanese, had his own talent agency as well. So I met Dave, and Dave's like, yeah, come on. So he's the one that got me started on board. And my first one, all the magazine stuff that I got on my own by going out and knocking on doors. But to break into that next level, you have to be somewhere who breaks you into that level in Japan. So Dave did that, and they contacted their golden show, which is at noontime, called Warate Itomo, means it's good to laugh. And this had a 21% rating, which of 130 million people, there's a lot of eyes on it. So I did that. They gave me my own corner because it was very popular. I did another one that springboarded from there, a Saturday evening show with the most famous singing group at the time called SMAP. That one had equally high ratings. So it worked out that every time I'd walk down the street from here to the back of that room would take 90 minutes because of signing autographs, up to 4.5 hours. But I would wait until the last little kid came to give them time, because they would always remember that and have that. And that's what's important to me. So that said, through Dave Spector's office, I started doing that. And come to find out later on, after I got the part, they had wanted to do the Guile cap comb thing. So I was through that introduced to a company called E-Promotions, and E-Promotions got me some other stuff, which like a sauna capsule hotel in Nagoya and these other bigger ones. And through Capcom, or through E-Promotions, I got Capcom because I had a very, very unique look over there. And that's exactly what Guile needed. And that's basically how it springboarded. And then I went down to the interview, just walked through the door, and they said, got it. It was that difficult. So I was like, wow, I hope in the future everything goes this difficult, because it'll be nice. And they said, got all the details, and then we, you know, jumped on the plane. I mean, not at the moment, at the scheduled time. Went, made it in Thailand, 2 parts, Bangkok, and then the next day's shooting was in Chiang Mai. And if none of you have seen the commercial, just let us know. We'll give you the link for the YouTube that you can see it. And that'll help up the views of it, by the way. No, Capcom gets those residuals. Never mind, just peek at it as a group. But if you want that link, let us know. And that waterfall scene, everything, that was in Chiang Mai. And, you know, it was an interesting shoot. You mind if I just jump right in and go with it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we did the shooting in Bangkok. So tomorrow we're going to Chiang Mai, which is up north, Laotian border and all this. And so it was some of the most amazing chicken I've ever eaten up there, because it's all free range. It's grown right there in the wild. And the food is delicious. The people, Thai people are fantastic. So we're up there shooting, and it's like I'd never seen it before, even though I lived in Japan. It's like, it's black over there. It's like this, like the color of this, and it's looming. And I was like, wow, what's happening over there? And they said, oh, this happens every single day. And you watch it, it's like watching time-lapse photography come, and then whoosh, it just downpour, and then whoosh, it's gone. In 15 minutes, like it never rained. It's that dry. That's how freakish the weather is there. So they say, okay, we want to do this shooting scene that you're going to climb up and your hand's going to come up over the rock as the water's coming down on you. It's like, now that wasn't comfortable at all, because that water was ice water. So I'm climbing up the rock and sticking the hand over and climbing the other one up, and, oh, let's do that again. It's like, why? Are my fingernails dirty or something? It's like, I don't get the retakes. So we're doing it, and I'm like, I think I got goosebumps, and I shouldn't say it, but I think my nipples were golf balls. I mean, it was freezing there. So I get up over and do all these takes, and they're like, okay, good, got it. And then like an hour later, they're like, nah, we're not going to put this in the commercial. And it was like, oh, 1 sheep, 2 sheep. So I said, okay, we're going to do the waterfall scene. And you guys have seen that one out at the waterfall, if you've seen the commercial or the posters that we have. And getting to that waterfall was probably wall to wall. And I swear I had to be a mountain goat to get out there. Oh, yeah, just go over there. It's like, oh, yeah, I'll be right there. And so you're tiptoeing on these rocks, and it's like, wow, just like you see in the movies on like the most dangerous roads. So I'm gently making, it's like no one else is coming. Oh, no, just you. It's like, okay, now we see where we're going with this one. It was like ice walking on those rocks, because the waterfall's coming, the moss is over, it is glass out there. So finally I make it out there, and everybody's behind me. It's like, oh, how do I turn around here? So it must have taken me, I don't know how long, because I don't like to exaggerate. And I finally get turned around, and then they like yell, okay, we want you to start posing. It's like, if I step the wrong way, it's like down over I go. And so I start hitting some poses out there, and I could have sworn I felt like tap, tap. And I think it was my testicles hitting my intestines. It was so cold in that water. And I'm like, fortunately you can't tell from the photos, but I am freezing out there and trying to garner that fake smile. It's like getting a half an hour of acupuncture there. I mean, big old needles driven in. Okay, do this pose. Okay, do that. And finally they finish up. Okay, come on back. Now I got to get back there. And somehow when you climb a tree, it's easier, if you've ever noticed. And getting back down from the tree, that's the task. So I finally get back over there, and I don't know how much time has lapsed. Okay, that's good for today. So we finish up and we go back. And John doesn't even know this, and I don't think my wife even knows this. And you 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 will be the first to hear about this. So we get back, all the shooting is done, everything is good. Jeff, man, awesome job. You know, that Guile that you see, that took 4 hours in the morning. So we have to be out there ready to go at 7 o'clock. Wake up this 4 hours before. It's like, wow, this is a long time. So they get everything done, and that's how we started each morning. But after we finished it all, they're like, great job, Jeff. You want to go eat? And I have my own driver over there. They say, oh, why don't you go eat where the prince and the princess go? It's like, wow, this must be a great place. Jump in the car, the driver's taking me. And out Bangkok, next to, my wife is from the Philippines, Manila traffic is horrible. Bangkok traffic is horrible. So going across, I swear it took 40 minutes to go from wall to wall. That's how bad the traffic is. And I asked the driver, I said, where are we going? He's like, oh, over there. And there's a field like 200 yards away, and they're going the whole way down around. And it'd have taken literally probably a couple hours. I said, well, I'll tell you what, pick me up here when we're done. I'll just jump out and go over there. I said, okay. So I go over there, and everything's charged to Capcom and all that. So I sit down at the table, and it was a table like this. It was literally this size and exactly this wide. And back then, I ate a lot. And they brought the menu and said, what do you want? And I said, yes. And they said, well, which one? I said, one of each of these. They brought it all out and set it down. One of the things they brought were oysters. Ate those and ate everything, and I said, wow, that was good. One more, please. They brought everything again. I ate all that, and I said, okay, that was good. Take in mind, we're leaving 2 days from that evening. That night, so driver comes, picks me up, takes me home. I'm in the hotel, and this is like 3 hours later. My eye twitches. And I said, no, it can't be. And it twitched again, and I felt something. I said, I've got food poisoning. 10, 9. By the time I hit 1, it was horrible. I mean, forgive the graphics, but north and south. And it was nonstop. It was one of 2 worst food poisonings I've ever had. The other one was in Korea. And so I called the staff. I said, I've got really bad food poisoning, and just had to hang up. So they sent the doctors rushing to the hotel, IVs, everything, and it just wouldn't stop. And they said, we got to get this guy to the hospital. Here's Guile being wheeled to the hospital. And this was, no, I'm sorry, we're leaving the next day. Embarrassing. And I'm in the hospital overnight, IVs, everything. We're leaving later that afternoon. I lost 15 pounds in 6 hours. And all night long it wouldn't stop. They're pumping me with everything. And then finally it broke on through. I'm laying there in the hospital bed the next morning, going up to noontime. And they say, okay, they walk in. Plane's leaving at 4. Out of the hospital, I kid you not, ripped it out in a wheelchair, going to the airport in the van, sitting there. I swear it was the most humiliating time. So you're going from this Guile character to this anemic, sick individual. Came back through the airport. Anything wrong? No. And the Japanese, fortunately, they know who you are and let you go. But it was a horrendous time following the making of the Guile. And nobody knows this, so I hope it doesn't go viral. There are no photos of that anywhere, so I think that's safe. But what I like to do when I give any kind of talk is I like to make it interactive. So at any point you guys have questions, you want to know something specific, just ask, because that's how I like it to be. I like everything to be 2 ways. So please feel free to ask anything you want, talk about anything you want, because I lived there 38 years. I've trained celebrities, stars, some of the people I've met that you might know, Phil Collins, Sylvester Stallone, B.B. King. So they've all been, part of the history of who I've done. The 64th Grand Champion Yokozuna Akebono. So if you have questions, please ask, and I'm happy to share anything that you'd like to know.
Do we have any questions?
Sure.
I would love to hear, this is not Guile related,
Yeah.
but I'd love to hear what you might have learned from Akebono. I mean, he's one of the greatest individuals that's ever been in Japan.
Yeah. Well, Akebono, he just passed away a few months ago because he had a stroke about 5 years ago. But when I was training with him, here's a guy who's 6'8", 550 pounds. And he became the top rank known as the Yokozuna. But it was interesting how we met. There's a ceremony on New Year's Day called omochitsuki, which is the pounding of rice to turn it into pounded rice mochi, and you put a sweet bean over top and eat it. It's really delicious. So I met him there, was introduced by a fellow, a mutual friend of ours she's an artist of sumo. And he was impressed by the physique, and he's like, okay, I want you to train me. So that's how it started with Akebono. I trained with him. We went around everywhere. I'd go to his tournaments. He'd bring me up to train wherever they were. And we'd go to the restaurant and eat. And he was obviously a superstar, a megastar in Japan. But what I noticed about him, whenever we were sitting there eating, fans would be like, and they would come up and just stick their hand out, Akebono-san. No matter what he was doing, he'd stop, shake their hand, give them some time. And I always watched that. I was like, wow, what an impressive person. And then through time, because he wasn't known for real strong legs, and he was tall, 6'8", so he had a big upper torso and smaller legs for that torso. So he ended up tearing his meniscus, and he was the first one to leave the mainland Japan to come to the U.S. for surgery, which is a meniscus surgery on his knee. So I brought him to L.A. that we got it done. And of course, the press follow him everywhere. And so we would train here in the U.S. We would go around, but he was always friendly to everybody. He was a guy who is kind of like a trendsetter, where he came to the U.S. to get the surgery, and that kind of combined the two worlds of America and Japan. Went with them on what's called the Jungyo, which is kind of like in baseball, they have spring training. So the Jungyo is going around, and they had these practice matches all over the country. Went with them everywhere to do that. So he was always a kind individual. He gave people time. He gave them their autograph. He was a pioneer because he tried a personal trainer, and we did new things with him that had never been seen in Japan in terms of training. So he was a trendsetter in that respect, a kind individual, and we just had a great time and a great friendship together. Thank you.
I actually have a question. So this goes back to the filming as well for Street Fighter II, the commercial advertisement. How many characters did they have planned to be filmed for the commercial? And what was it like doing those scenes with Vega, also known in the U.S. as M. Bison?
We took 3 characters over to do the filming for those 2 days. It was Vega, Mizuno Miki-san, who played the female character, and myself. And it was pretty cool. This is another thing that nobody knows, so you guys will be privy to know this information. So we were doing the filming, and it's in the commercial me fighting Vega, or Bison. But Bison, I didn't even really know that Vega's name in the U.S. was Bison until John taught me. That's how much I didn't know. But when I was fighting Vega, he's like a big Japanese guy. I'm thinking like, man, I'm glad this is just on film, because if we really got it on, it wouldn't be good for me, I'm sure. So we're fighting and we're doing all this and retakes, and he goes, now, make it count, hit the hand. All right. So and it's like in the commercial, I spin around, do it, bam, and he's boom, and he stopped me. And I remember thinking like, holy Lord, I'm glad this is just on film for a commercial. It's like, phew. So we get all that done, and it's good. And he goes, now I want you to do a front kick to him. It's like, okay. So I do a front kick, and it's like, good. Okay, do it again. We do a front kick, and we're kicking, and okay, good. Now, this is the thing that nobody knows, and I wasn't sure I was going to reveal it to you, but since this is my first ever Expo, you're the first ever audience to come and listen. You're going to be privy to it, and I might never repeat it. So I'm standing there. Can I stand up for a second? I'll talk louder. So Vega, he's over here, and he's squaring up. It's like, all right. And I know that I'm going to do a right kick. So I need to plant my left leg to come across and get him. So we're going at it. Come with the front kick. Good. Okay. Now, the director comes over, and the director's explaining this stuff. He goes, all right, what I want you to do is flip over in the air and do a 360 and kick him on the way. I'm like, what the heck, Roger? I said, you think I'm like Jackie Chan or Bruce Lee? Holy Lord. I said, look, I'm like 220 at the time. Yeah, 5% body fat. I said, I can't do anything but a vertical and a front kick. Oh, well, yeah, you can do it. Man, I look like a dweeb trying to do that. And so, okay, hold on. So their little huddle, they're thinking, got it. They bring a bar over. Okay, hold that in. Okay, just grab the bar and wrap yourself around it, and we'll film it that way. I'm like, that's just as hard. Now they think I'm like Mary Lou Retton. Okay, for those you don't know, she was an incredible gymnast. So I'm like, okay, fine, here we go. Ting, ting. It's like a little, distorted duck almost. And I'm like, man, this is really messing with my ego here. And they say, okay, all right, try it again. And I got a little further, and I'm like, guys, I'm not built for this kind of stuff. They said, okay, hold on. Back to the little huddles, like you see in an Adam Sandler movie, Longest Yard, which, by the way, Bob Sapp was a client of mine. He was a nice guy. So you come back over. Okay, here's what's going to happen. We'll use the bar, they'll hold it, and one guy's going to flip you as you go. And this does not build confidence in me. So yeah, I get up there on the flip, halfway down like a roller coaster, and one of them lets go. So this can't be good for me. All right, here we go. It's your commercial. Boom. And if you notice in the commercial, you'll see the legs coming up with a kick, but you don't see the rest of me attached. Well, that's why, because the guy's under there helping with the loop-de-loo on that. Boom, get it around. Great, good. I mean, it's trying to make me feel good. It's like, man, that's a real ego buster. But we got it filmed, and nobody knows this. So if it's somewhere on Facebook from now on, I'll have 1 in 7 chances of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of knowing where it came from.
Right.
But that was probably one of the most memorable parts about filming it too. So every time I see those boots, I'm sorry, I can't think of anything but being flipped over from the bottom by somebody.
Do you have any contact with any of the other original actors?
No, what you find in Japan is most of the talents and actors, they have their own separate worlds, unless they're doing TV shows together and have done dramas and TV shows where they're linked. So you got to remember, I was a foreigner. So I was a complete standoff, completely different from the crowd. And at that point, yes, I was famous all around the country, but not in with, okay, we're going to go out to dinner and stuff like that. So that kind of contact, no. For the people that I trained with and worked with, yes. But not for the specific Street Fighters, the other two, no. Now, Mickey and I, we kept in contact for a while after that. Hey, how you doing, Jeff? Oh, hi, Mickey, how you doing? Yeah, I'm doing my stretch program, little things like that. But that was about the extent of it.
Okay. If there were ever an opportunity for you to get, I'm not saying that it's going to happen tomorrow or anything, but if opportunity ever arose to where you're like, oh, hey, this is so-and-so from when I did Street Fighter, and they kind of reached out to you, say, for example, if they saw what was going on here in the States via Portland Retro Gaming Expo, and they would want to do something with you like this, I think that would be an amazing opportunity for some of the people here to actually appreciate what all of you guys did and collab maybe with them to do something like this or take it something like this even further. I think everybody would appreciate that too if that opportunity ever arose. So what my question is leading into this is, if you ever had an opportunity to work with them again, would you do it?
Well, before saying yes or no, can I expound?
Oh, of course.
So I really didn't give much thought to Street Fighter 2 after I did it. Yeah, Guile, all this good stuff. Because when we did it, in the modeling agencies over there, you sign a contract. So say you get paid $3,000, $5,000, whatever it was for Street Fighter 2. I come to find out, if any of you know this, Street Fighter 2 was the #1 selling fighting game ever. Sold over $10 billion. And I'm like, holy smokes. So if I got 1/100th of 1%, I'd have gotten $10 million in royalties and residuals. So I know where all those royalties went from the sales. I was thinking, wow, my goodness. So you have a choice in life. Remember I told you, the Bible says, as ye think, so shall you be? So I thought, do I get upset about that? Or do I become grateful and blessed from the opportunity of being the very first ever Guile live action in the entire series? And then use whatever the good Lord brings along after that to capitalize on it, to meet people, to do things. With that, the answer is, it's easy. My life structure in terms of priorities is very simple. God, which is Jesus, family, human relationships and friendships. And that means all of you here. That means I value your friendship moving forward from now on. After that comes money, work, business, everything else. If you have those priorities messed up, you're always going to be struggling and banging and your head against the wall and disappointments here and there. So the answer to your question then is yes, because Japan is all about relationships. It does not matter how good or bad you are. What matters, are you first doing it and the relationship you have with the person? Because if I'm not the best at it, or say John's not the best at XYZ, but I call somebody because he wants to get in there, and I trust him knowing his character, not his total, regardless of his total skill level. And I say, hey, Takashi-san, John is a great guy. I can vouch for his character. Give him the opportunity. He'll go to the front of the line because it's who you know in Japan. So those relationships are very important. And that's why, even though we're foreigners I worked with as clients over there in my fitness business, becoming a pioneer in what I did in the fitness industry, in the holistic world, I still have those relationships to today. Like 2 weeks ago, taking my wife and my dad to the Pirates game because the Royals hitting coach was 18 years ago, a client of mine that I fixed from a disc hernia that the team trainers couldn't fix with him. We're still good friends from today. He gives me VIP passes. We go down the field. So relationships are important. So the Capcom people could call and they'd walk up. And in Japan, you never wear your hat in front of somebody that you're going to meet like that or an executive. The hat comes off as a sign of respect and you bow. The bow in terms of depth determines, okay, well, I'm more sincere. No, I'm more sincere. You don't have to go that far, but you bow and you show that respect. And then you go on, I'd be honored to work with them. And so to answer your question, yes, I would wholeheartedly welcome it. I would give them the best performance that I could, the best part of me that I could, because it's about integrity and ethics. Don't ever try to skirt somebody. Don't ever try to squeeze around the corner to cut back on something. If you're not willing, I just heard it today, somebody said, where's Ian, right? Ethan.
Right here?
Yeah. Chris. Wasn't it? No, it was Ian. Ian told me. Or was it you? One of the two told me, if you're not going to give your best, then don't even try it. And I really like that. That resonated with me. Either go the whole way or go home. And I guess that's what I did in Japan. You know, $6. I had, here's another story hardly anybody knows. One of the members of the parliament over there brought a sumo guy in for me to train, needed help. Trained, did really well, and went on. And then I was having a little bit of a struggling time there. And basically his advice to me is, yeah, why don't you move back to the U.S.? So it's kind of like a little bit condescending in a way. But guess who about 15 years later went to prison for embezzling money? It wasn't Guile or Jeff. It was the House of Parliament guy who gave me that comment. So what I'm saying is, know who you are. You know what's in your heart. You know if you've done the right thing or the wrong thing. You know if you've done the ethical thing and the integral thing or not. Go with you. Be the best that you can be. Go all out and give it your best. Because if you don't, you're never going to know what you can do, and you're always going to fall and sell yourself short of that. So go for it. Reach for it and go. And don't look back. But always treat people with the utmost respect, kindness, and courtesy, and do everything with a great humility. You'll be surprised at what you've got inside of you can do. So all of that would boil down to, yes, I would.
That's awesome. That makes me very, very happy. So hopefully, once this interview gets uploaded, maybe something could come of this. Like maybe some of the very famous YouTubers that are into the Street Fighter games will be like, "Oh, hey, I didn't know he existed," and maybe something of a collaboration, like interview or let's play, where you're like being held like interviewed while he's playing, like what's his name? Something Dude. He's really big. He's got over 1 million subscribers.
Oh, Maximilian?
Yes, Maximilian Dude. With that being said, we would like to announce that right after this panel is over with, in just under 3 minutes, we are hosting the first time ever Street Fighter II tournament at the Street Fighter II Turbo arcade machine in the free play area. So anybody that wants to meet up there at or before 4 p.m., they can take part. And why don't you lift that up and show them what they can win. This is the first ever made trophy for Street Fighter II Turbo. If anybody wants to take part, which we hope you guys do. If you can't, we understand, but just wanted to let you guys know.
Anybody have any questions they'd like to ask? We still have a few minutes left. Please ask your questions. Yes, sir.
Well, the one question that I would have asked, he already asked, but then I guess out of curiosity, have you ever seen the original Street Fighter II movie with Jean-Claude and Raul Julia? And if you have, what would your thoughts on it be, especially in comparison to the filming you did?
I think it would boil down to, back to the analogy I gave you of the bicycle rim. Jean-Claude would not have done the Capcom video, I'm sure, or the commercial. And in my own opinion, yes, I would have loved to have done the movie, but let's face it, I think Jean-Claude Van Damme's name is a little bit bigger than mine. And if he and I got in the ring to fight, I think he'd be the only one that would walk out, and I'd be carried out. So I think that he's a lot better looking. His fighting style is a lot better. And I think that they made the right choice for that. So I'm a Jean-Claude Van Damme fan. I think he did a fantastic job in it. I always support him. He was great at what he did. And I'm glad that I just got to play the little part that I did to springboard it. So it was a good question. Thank you.
I still think you with a better looking Guile.
That is true.
The term was perfect.
Yes, I firmly believe that too. Also, there was a film that included Jackie Chan, where he parodied the Street Fighter II, and I had a couple of fans ask me about that before too. About saying, well, this movie came out at that point in time, but that was more or less of a parody, and it wasn't anything official. So the filming, so this is how it went. The filming was in 1993. The video was released August 1993 through GamePro magazine. So whoever subscribed to GamePro was lucky enough to get that VHS tape, which showcased Street Fighter II Turbo. And it had all of the commercials in there, all of the advertisements, which was neat. Even, I believe, an article in that magazine. And then the movie was still filming during that time, and the movie released in theaters, I believe, in December of 1994, in the beginning of 95. So that when I found that out, when I was, in the beginning stages of talking with him, that just blew my mind. And I couldn't believe it because you might not think it, but you do play an important part in Street Fighter II's history, not just Street Fighter II or Capcom's history, but in video gaming history. So that's why I strongly believe that you belong in places like this to be appreciated. I believe your work that you have, that only you have and Capcom have, should be shared around everywhere if possible, because there's an appreciation for originality, which you don't have anymore today because everything is faked through digital media. And it's like the movies are okay, everything evolves, I understand that, but there's an appreciation for all the hard work and blood, sweat, and tears that were put into making all of this work.
Well, the other thing too is you're always, remember I told you about knowing yourself, believing in yourself, and that forward walk?
We're out of time.
Okay. Walk forward. There's always going to be naysayers. Oh, you didn't do this. It's all right. Like you said, you can sleep soundly at night. You know what you did. You know the even if it's a little part, the little part that you played and contributed. That's okay. Let the naysayers be naysayers, because they're the ones that you don't want to hang around with anyway. Do what you're going to do. Do it well. And if you're not going to do it 100%, go home. So that's what I did. And I'm proud to be a part of the Capcom history of Street Fighter II. The 500,000 hours of bodybuilding training, the physique to get it ready for some opportunity to come along. Because there's no such thing as luck. It's when opportunity meets preparation that you make your own luck. So always remember that. And for each of you here, we're going to do something special. I'm going to give you each free a signed photo for coming. So I'd like to thank you for that.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and here are a few more videos for you to check out.